Thanks, guys, for joining us on our third episode of Always Making. I almost forgot the title of the show. Wow, jeez. But yeah, guys, like I said on the last episode, we actually got Cam on the show. Yeah.
I'm here.
Cam is here. So we're going to be talking with Cam about his art journey and everything he's going and doing in the art world. And that's what we're here to do.
So why don't we have Cam introduce himself?
Myself? Yeah. So my name's Kamber. I'm an artist. I'm a creator. I do a bunch of random stuff. I don't know. I've got a pretty big background of what I work on. So like growing up, drawing was super important to me. And then I switched to, in high school, ceramics was the most important thing for me. So like 12th grade, I think I had 4 classes and 3 of them were ceramics. So that's all I did. That was like my main focus. Loved it. Then I graduated and I joined the military. So set all of my art to the side and didn't touch it for 6 years probably. I didn't do anything with art, which is crazy because I had such a big background in it. And then I went on a deployment, got home, and I got a job at Black Rifle Coffee Company, and that's where I met Derek. And we worked in the print shop together, and I started drawing again. And I don't know if it was from influence from you or whatever it was, but I created an Instagram page for drawing and art, and then that transformed into what I do now, which is I left my job at Black Rifle, but I guess I can kind of rewind. We started the art department together. Us, a guy named Brian Hamill, he was our old boss, and we started what Black Rifle's art department is now. And then kind of fast forward, we did a bunch of art for him and whatnot. And now I'm on my own journey of doing my own art and selling pieces. I mean, I haven't done very many shows, but I got a show coming up with DIY Fest with you guys. And then I sell some pieces on Etsy and on Instagram. And yeah, it's kind of where I'm at now. And I'm introducing...
Do a little freelancing as well, right?
I do a little bit of freelancing as well, yeah. And then I'm also starting to introduce... I want to do larger scale pieces like sculptures and stuff like that. So being my own boss, I can kind of have control over that, which is great. And so we'll still do some digital art here and there, but I want to really expand on like all of my skills as an artist and not just pigeonhole it to one specific thing. So
Yeah.
I think we get that.
yeah. I mean, you guys are creators for sure. You can't see the background, but there's so many tools in here. It's incredible.
On deployment, were you using your Surface to do your drawing and everything? No. So that it was literally after you got back, you started working on the Microsoft Surface with that.
Yeah. So the only reason I bought the Surface was to watch movies on my deployment. So I had a hard drive full of tons of movies, and then that's all I used it for. Once I got home, then I went and bought a stylus and started drawing with it. And so that's crazy too, because I totally forgot that's what I started on. Yeah. It wasn't with the iPad. It was with that. And I used what I had at the time. And now I've upgraded to the iPad, which is a little bit nicer technology. But yeah, I started on the Surface.
Yeah. And so because I remember through that whole process where as you were growing, like with us working together and everything, like you were on the Microsoft Surface, you were doing a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. And then there was another artist that introduced you to the iPad. And it was one of those things where you're like, oh, here's a next step in like my evolution of what I'm doing. And then you really started getting crazy with what you were doing and started looking at other alternatives to how you were approaching your stuff. Because don't get me wrong, the Microsoft Surface, like Christy has one personally, and like it's a great tool, but it has its limitations as well.
Sure. Yep.
Same thing with the iPad. It's a great tool, but it has its limitations. So knowing how to utilize those tools and then going through I think the biggest thing I think I taught you was Adobe Suite.
100%. No, I didn't know a single thing about Adobe. And then we both got brought over to the art department. I needed to learn it. And that's something I had no knowledge about. But I felt like I picked it up pretty quick.
You did.
Especially with your background in it.
Very quickly with that.
Yeah.
But that allowed you to, again, that next step forward with it. So one of the things we started kind of talking about on our last episode is the tool that, like, your first tool in the maker world that you, like, purchased yourself. What would that be? That, like, go back, I mean, pre-ceramic days? Or, like, what's that tool that you, like, with your hard-earned money, did you purchase and you continued down that creator journey?
Dang. I mean, it'd probably be more recent than earlier on, because earlier on it was all supplies like hand-me-downs and whatnot, and then in high school, I mean, you pay for a certain fee for all the equipment, but they give everything to you. And so it probably started with the Surface, not knowing the power that it held.
Yeah.
But like the biggest purchase would probably be my most recent iPad, which was the nicest iPad, the 13-inch iPad Pro. But that I maximize my time and art energy, I guess, on that. And like I paid for it, paid it off, and that's probably like one of the biggest stepping stones of where I've put my own money from what I've made back into a tool that has gotten me to where I am now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'd probably be the iPad, but the Surface, not knowing what it was going to be used for at the time,
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. So I know you kind of discussed it a little bit, where you're more you're going into different mediums and trying different stuff. You are a very heavy digital artist for. So I mean, I'm gonna assume on this question here, but like the tool that like you like couldn't live without going forward, would that be the iPad?
Oh, I don't know, because it all depends like where this next journey takes me. I'm not going to forget about it, and I'm definitely going to use it a lot because I still want to do T-shirts and one-off prints and whatnot. But I don't know, because if I'm going more into painting and stuff like that, I still use the iPad. I pull up photos on it, so it probably is the iPad because I'm using it for reference photos and whatnot. Like, it's not just used for Procreate for me.
Yeah,
it's used for various different things. Like I can photo edit on it, video edit, and so it really is a useful tool that I can take anywhere. And so yeah, it probably would be the iPad. Knowing
a little bit, like we've been friends for almost 4 years now, on this art journey and everything.
2019 to 2023. So yeah, we're coming up on 5 years.
On 5 years.
Yeah.
So I know this past year you got a rug gun. So you kind of jumped into that little bit.
Yeah.
What was that experience like? I have one of your rugs in my office.
Yeah, you do.
I know. I got your first rug, actually.
my very first rug. Yeah. I felt like I needed to give something back to you. Yeah, the rug gun is super cool. A little bit of a learning curve, I guess, and like I still haven't messed with it enough to know too much about it, but the first material I bought for the backing and stuff like that, like it worked, but it's not the best. And so it's been a learning experience for sure. And like the glue that I put on the back and how to fold the edges on it. But it was kind of a learning curve, but there's so much information on YouTube and whatnot and I feel like kind of with my background, I picked it up fairly quick because that was my first attempt, and I gave it to you as a gift. So I thought
I'm honored to get it.
I thought it was quality enough to give it to you. Right?
So I'll put a picture up in the video version of this and everything. But it is a Biker Scout, and Cam knows Biker Scout helmets are like one of my like big sought after. I really am like I want to 3D print and build my own full costume and everything. But the Biker Scout has always been my favorite helmet from the Star Wars universe, and so that's a very cool one. It's sitting on my sofa in my office down here, in my editing room and everything. And
yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was a cool build.
For a first go and everything.
Yeah,
it's
it
pretty
didn't
cool.
turn out bad.
I would not have guessed that was your first rug.
Right, yeah. And so, I mean,
I was super stoked when he like pulled it out and he's like, "This is for you." I'm like, "No fucking way!" That's so cool.
Yeah. I know, that's crazy. But I would like to build a couple more things with the rug gun, and like whether it's a logo of mine or I guess freelance or commission work for other people. It would be cool to pick that up again because I want to work on tons of different stuff, so I'm not getting bored or sucked into one thing, so I'm not going down a rabbit hole of just one thing. I really want to branch out more and, like the rug gun. So, yeah.
We also invested partners on our screen printing machine, so that's another
journey
one that we're kind of going through and everything with that process. And you've got a couple new designs that you're going to be printing out soon with that.
We got 3 designs for a collection called "Don't Let Self-Love Die," and that collection for me is just basically to like your mental health awareness and stuff like that on how to be a happy person, and just more of a message on like for other people who see it or for yourself if you're wearing it. That's kind of what it represents. But we'll be printing it on another tool that we bought, which it's crazy to think of all these tools that we have that are around us that a lot of people don't have their hands on. Like it's crazy, and it's awesome that you have the space to also have the, you know, 'cause
capability. Yeah.
in my apartment, I'm working in my studio, which is the corner of my bedroom. And so, yeah, that's cool. That's awesome.
Do you have any questions you're looking at?
Yeah, I do
I don't want
actually.
to cut you off or anything.
No, that's okay. Yeah, no, we're going good. I'm wondering how that transition felt for you to go from being so heavily involved in art in high school, then being on deployment for, you said, 6 years, right? Basically not touching any art.
So I was in the military for 6 years, deployed for one.
And then getting back into art, like that feels like such a stark contrast to me. Like how
I feel like leaving or graduating, like my mindset just changed. It was like, I will never have a career in art, maybe is what I thought leaving it. And so the transition into the military, leaving the art behind, it's crazy because it almost feels numb to me. And I don't know if that's because it's 8 years ago almost, that when I first joined. I don't know what it was, but it felt like I just like left everything, and I don't know why I didn't like have any like sad emotion about it. It's like I was going on to something better is kind of the mindset I had. And then I feel like definitely halfway through, and then especially on my deployment, I was like, I'm missing something. There's something missing that used to be a part of me. And once I got home and started drawing a little bit, I was like, maybe this is what was missing. And then fast forward a little bit, we're printing shirts and I'm looking at other people's artwork every single day, printing other people's stuff. And I was like, no, that's it. I was like, I'm missing the art that used to...
that creative outlet.
Exactly. That was so heavily involved in my life. And I just put it to the side. And so I was like, no, that's coming back. And so with the help of Derek as well, because I'm pretty sure you recommended my name when we were starting the art department.
Yeah.
And you talked with...
me and Brian both wanted you to come over.
And you saw potential in me. And so that really kickstarted me back into art, into what I left behind. And now it's like... it's crazy that I left all that behind, because now I'm like, I would never do that again.
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah.
I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you remember that first Christmas that we like had in screen printing in the warehouse back there? You and one of our other employees both talked about like drawing and sketching and everything. Do you remember what I got you? Did you ever do anything in that?
With the sketchbook that you got me, the little one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I still have it.
Oh.
I haven't used it, but I still have it.
Yeah.
I was like, it's in all my art supplies.
Yeah, I was like, I tried to, like, with everybody there, like, I tried to get something that, like, was something that would motivate them to do. And so you and the other employee, I was like, draw here. Go, supplies, go do stuff and everything.
But what's funny with that is at the same time, I don't know if you remember this, but you saw a deal for an entire paint set that you were like, you should go get this.
Oh, I do. Yeah, it was at Michael's.
It was only $80 and it was down to like $20.
Yeah, I do remember.
Like, go get it. Go get it.
Because I'm constantly looking at like deals. We're constantly trying to buy supplies.
I did.
He did. I do remember that. He did. He did go and buy it and everything.
And as of recent, I've been using it nonstop.
Was that when we're filming this morning I just saw you post a reel. Was that using those art supplies?
Yep. And I've gone back to Michael's and bought some extra stuff. No, that was using the easel and the like certain paints that I still have left over from it, and some of the brushes. I have invested in some other stuff, but using that. And that, it's crazy too, because that was 3 years ago almost, that you were like, buy this. And then I didn't do much with it. I tried a couple of paintings and I was like, this is just isn't me right now. But as of recent, it's me and I'm using it. But the reason I have it, and granted, I could have gone out yesterday and bought a new one if I needed to, but it's the fact that you were like, go get it, got it. 3 years later, I'm now using it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, for anybody on that art journey or through that process or anything, it's not something that happens overnight. I think we expressed this in one of our last episodes, but it is for us. This has taken. We're me and Chrissy have been together for almost. We're going on 19 years now. I'm like, wait, hold on. I'm gonna screw this one up. 19 years we've been together. But we've been building this even before that process. And so, like, the tools, the supplies, the things have not been
even
something
just
that's
those small
overnight.
investments, I think, of, like, time and energy.
Yeah.
And
late
effort.
nights working on projects and trying to figure something out and learn a process and everything, and just being okay with not knowing what the outcome is going to be used for necessarily, or how good it's going to be, is a huge step in that process. And there is no overnight success with anything. But one of the things that I like super proud to see and everything is, I even shouted it out on the last episode, you have a new art piece that's actually out in public that people can go see. Yeah. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So digital world, I've been messing around a lot with that. And we have a show coming up called DIY Fest by
Craft Lake City. Shout out to Craft Lake City.
Yeah, shout out to Craft Lake City. And they reached out to me and 14 other artists, and they asked if we would participate in this event, this expedition that they have called Celebration of the Hand. And I don't know how they found all these artists. I don't know if it was from us all applying to be in the show this year, but they emailed me and I was like, yeah, let's do it. And I got a prompt of, so every single year they've been a DIY Fest for 14 years. And they've got 14 signs. Actually, no, I think this is the 15th year.
I think so.
Yeah.
They're celebrating the previous 14.
Yes, the previous 14. And every single year they have a milestone that they've achieved. And so each sign is a different milestone, a different year. And I was given the prompt of 2014, which is the year of... I'm blanking. Oh, it's the VIP section. Yeah, the VIP section. And when I got the prompt, because I said, yeah, I'll do it. I got the prompt and I was like, how do I portray the VIP section in a drawing? I was like, that sounds more like a picture of somebody would snap a picture, and that's what it'd be used for. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to draw. And I was sitting there brainstorming and talking with my brother, and I was like, maybe like I could do an angle of somebody sitting on a ledge and they have a wristband on, and you can see like a stage, the perspective of someone sitting in the VIP section. And then I was like, yeah, I'll start drawing that. But it just didn't feel right. And then so I kept thinking a tiny bit, and then it hit me. I was like, what does it feel like to be in the VIP section? Personally, what do you feel like? You're being catered to, you paid a little bit extra money to be there, you feel important, very important person. And I was like, how can I portray that? And so what I drew was somebody sitting in a lawn area with the stage right in front of them, and like it's connecting to them. They have a different feeling, and I didn't draw the person with any like hands or feet or face or anything, because in the moment that you're watching somebody perform like that, I feel like you feel non-existent, but you're also present. And so that's kind of what it represents. So yeah, it all came together, and I'm super stoked how it turned out. And it's downtown Salt Lake City off of West Temple and 300 South. There's a bunch of different art though. It's not just mine. There's 14 other artists, 14 other signs, but yeah, it was a super cool thing to be a part of, and how I got to where I did, it was super cool. Yeah, I'm excited on how it turned out too. But,
yeah, it looks really good and everything.
Thank you. Yeah.
And so if I'll see if we can get permission to pop it in the video portion of this and everything,
sure it should be fine.
And we'll pop it up in here at some point for people to see what we're talking about. If you guys aren't local to Salt Lake, but if you guys are local to Salt Lake, head down to downtown and go check out not just Cam's art, but also all of the artists and everything.
Tons of talented people. It's cool.
I don't think we said it at the beginning. It's Kamberland Creations on Instagram at Kamberland Creations.
Oh yeah.
Just so you can see some of the other some of the other art we've been talking about as well. You can go check that out on Instagram as well. Going back a little bit, show wise, you did a show with us last year in July. Actually, we did the July SLC Punk show together.
Yeah.
You also joined us at FanX with us. So this is going to be your first show, kind of going a little solo and everything. What's some of the things we've talked about shows on this? Talked about markets and shows on this podcast show. So what are some of the things you've got going on to kind of prepare yourself for something like that?
I'm here. You've got a lot of tools and resources that I can use and help contribute a little bit of money to help make like stickers and prints and stuff like that, but also getting my t-shirts printed here. I just ordered some t-shirts they just came in, so I'll be getting those made. And what I'm doing to prep myself, because I'm also leaving for 2 weeks to go to Washington to go visit our friend Tori, who's
another great maker.
Yeah. He's the owner of Gunstone Creations. He's a blacksmith. I'm going up there to collab with him on a knife, and then we're also going to do some larger sculptures and stuff like that. So I'm leaving for 2 weeks, and then I get back and I have a week until the show. And I was like, that's not a good idea. Not a good idea at all, because I was kind of like not really pushing this off on like getting stuff made, but I knew I had enough days to do it. And then this came up and I was like, I don't have enough days. And so, yeah, now I've just being on top of it and knowing the time frame of what it takes to actually create something. I started this, the Don't Let Self-Love Die collection a couple of weeks ago in preparation for this. And then with this now 2 week time frame that I'm going to miss, I was like, okay, I need to get shirts now. I know how long it's going to take to print them. I can give it like 1 or 2 days, but we also have to coat screens and burn them. So that's going to be another couple days on top of that. And so just being aware of, and since we did do this for FanX, which is a really big show, I feel like it's prepared me a lot for what's coming. I know what I need, especially with that show. I know what I don't need now. And so I'm coming into this with a lot more preparation and time management. And so when I get back from, it's not a vacation, but Washington, I will have a week that I can really dial in stuff. And that's where I'm mostly going to focus on like my layout and presentation, because I think everything else will be squared away with prints and stickers and shirts. That will all be ready. And then the rest of it will just be displaying it how I want to. So I'll probably do like I have a 5x10 booth. So I'll do a mock-up in my apartment and see what I'm missing and what I'll need to grab in that last week. And then it's that weekend after. So I'll be ready for it. Yeah.
With whatever you got.
With whatever I got.
Yeah. We kind of go into the same mindset a little bit with some. It's like, okay, we get as much prepared as we can, and then, okay, we'll just...
Yep.
Yeah.
Then you just show up, hope you got everything ready.
If you're missing something small, it's not going to be make or break for the entire show. And especially with it being a 3-day show, you have time to, it gets done a little bit later, but you have time to run to the store or order something and get it in for maybe that last day, that if you really need it, So, but yeah.
All right. So we've talked about a little bit of your past and your journey. We've talked about your present. What do you have? I know you've talked a little bit about what you want to get into, but what do you have planned for future of Kamberland Creations?
For the future of Kamberland Creations. So my focus is Don't Let Self-Love Die. That whole collection, I really want to expand on it and get into making some hats and more apparel on it. And I really want that to be like the apparel that I sell. I want people to know that Don't Let Self-Love Die is what Kamberland has, but I really, really want to branch into making bigger pieces that I can sell. Whether it's sculptures or paintings, or I don't want it to just be digital art. And I've kind of fell into that hole of that's all that I thought existed for me. But the past couple of days, I was like, no, I can do way more than that, especially with my background in ceramics. I was like, I understand how to sculpt, and I can make bigger pieces that can hang on someone's wall or be at an art expedition again or be at a show. And so I am going to expand Don't Let Self-Love Die into something bigger, but the rest of it, and I'm not going to set limitations because I have no idea what the future holds.
Yeah, sure.
But I want the rest of it to be bigger sculptures, bigger paintings, and something that people will take up a lot of room on someone's wall, not just a 11x14 print. I want something that somebody watched me build and invest my time into, and they want to invest themselves into that to hang it on their wall. So yeah, that's what I want the future of what I'm going to do to be. So
awesome.
Yeah.
So if you had to look even further, 10, 15, 20 years in the future, do you think you'll still be making art?
Yes. I think especially with leaving my job to follow this passion, I truly believe that's where I exist. I believe in 10 years, that's where I'll be existing. And who knows what it's going to hold, but I would love to be working on just massive projects for different companies and stuff like that. And whether it's me just selling my own stuff or working and collabing with people, that's where I want to be. I know this is kind of not a weird example, but I've been watching a lot of Adam Savage lately and just how he can create anything. And granted, he's not making his main income from his YouTube, but that's a big possibility for someone. And people pay for you to create anything. And so I would love to be known for like Kamberland. Somebody can have that in their house, or like whatever it is, whatever I make, there's people who are like, I want that, you know?
Yeah.
So build my name and build my company to be that, or just people know what it is. So
awesome.
10 years, that's a pretty good milestone. Oh, no, I do have something pretty good that I want to do. Another thing that I want, and I don't know how I forgot about this, but it's not because we came from a coffee shop, but I would love to have a coffee shop that is also a art exhibit, or artists can sell their art there or have their name, like freelance smaller artists, like something that can help boost smaller artists. So they can always have stuff on sale there. They can do, and like maybe like weekends or certain days of the week, do like little pop-up shows where people can come set up, do like lessons where I have people come in, like different teachers and stuff like that, teach ceramics one day and like maybe like once a month or whatever it is. And like, but I want an environment where people can go to build their name, but also learn. And so that is actually a really big goal and dream that I have that's further down the road.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's actually probably the biggest one that I have, is I would really love a space.
Yeah.
Like a studio for anybody to come in, you know?
Yeah, we've shared that, like, we want to create for other artists to create kind of thing. We've dealt with artists in the past that have been very like mindset focused on their own thing. They don't want to share. They don't want to grow. They don't want to, it's everything stuck with them. But like for us, it's always been like, hey, how can we help out the other guy?
Yeah.
How can we how can we grow the next thing? I mean, we've said it on here, is like the reason we are doing these kind of things with the podcast and everything else we're doing is we meet so many cool people at shows.
Yeah.
And like, this is a platform I can offer them. Like I don't have a teaching studio. I don't have a facility or anything. Yeah. I know we've talked about it and everything. But like, we can have a conversation about art and share that with people. And hopefully there's people out there watching on the show that like get inspired to create and make stuff.
For sure. Yeah.
With that being said, and we've talked about this on the last episode, we wanted to kind of get into with everybody, like, what is that inspiration? What is that drive? What is that, like, passion? What wakes you up in the morning and goes, I'm going to create, like, art today? Where does that come from for you?
Oh, I think it's just what truly, like, makes me happy. You know, I saw a thing the other day that says either you make art based off of, like, your experiences or what it, like, what's the saying? Either art is you, like you're drawing, or you're creating yourself, or you're creating other people, is basically like the two perspectives of art. And I think for me, I invest a lot of who I am into my art. And so if people are investing in like loving what I'm doing, then that like it just helps influence and like get me going throughout my day to create, because it's what I truly love to do. And if they're investing their time and money into me, and I'm investing my time and money into me, it's really special. And I don't think people truly understand it until they have sold something, or even having a booth and somebody comes up to you and they're like, this is really cool. And you're like, wow, I poured my heart and soul into this, and somebody invests their money into it. Yeah. Like, that is so special and unique. And it's kind of hard to understand if you've never been in that situation, but knowing that I can create something and people can fall in love with it or find a connection with it, but it's actually me, because my art is me in a sense. And so that is super cool to me, that somebody can kind of meet me, but not meet me through my art. Yeah. You know, like somebody miles away, thousands of miles across the country could buy one of my pieces, but that is a part of me. Yeah. And that they're now hanging in their house or whatever it is. So yeah, we had another artist friend, he was like questioning about like putting stuff up on Etsy, and told him, just do it, man. Just like, why not? Just get out there and do it and see what happens. And within the first 2 weeks, like, he sold something to Canada. I'm like, dude, there's now someone in their like basement, nerd office, bedroom, whatever, that now has your art. They took the time to spend the money to ship it, and you now have somebody who has your art up in their wall in Canada, kind of thing. And it grows. I mean, Christy's had her like stuff go all over the world for like the stuff she's sewn, and it's really cool to like. Again, I don't think there's a way to like express what that feels to people who don't understand what that is. Yeah. And so like I've shot
plenty of like photos and videos and things for artists, for bands, for things that have a couple like 1,000 views online and people are watching, but I never see those people. And like, so when you're at a show and someone goes like, that's really cool, I don't care if they buy my stuff. Like that's the reality. Is I really don't care. That compliment goes from like days. I'm on a high of like, okay, like I'm doing something that other people can connect with, like you said, and like I want to do more. What do I do? What's the next thing? So like I come down and like again we just got done with 2 shows this weekend. What were we doing yesterday and today? Like
doing more.
Doing it again, kind of thing. And we're like it is draining to do some of these shows sometimes. It is a lot of work. It is a lot of effort, but there is a natural high that comes from it that you just go, I want to do it again.
I think for me, it's a big part of it is that connection. Like anytime someone comes into our booth and is like, whoa, I love your stuff. This is really cool. It's like, they kind of get it, or they get a piece of you.
Yes, exactly.
So there's like that connection where you're like, okay, there's something that we both have in common. There's somewhere where we both meet, and it's just like.
We had people come through the booth Sunday and Taking Back Sunday. It just went into
we just went down this rabbit hole of talking about My Chemical Romance and Take Back Sunday and all our emo bands that we were into when we were in high school, and kids are like just discovering them now.
And it was that 5-minute connection we had with these people that you were having a connection with it. You were having an honest conversation. There was no keyboard or screen behind it. It was right here. You had something relatable. What's very cool is they walked away with some of our art and everything, and so I'd like to believe that they're going to remember that conversation every time they see that piece, kind of thing, because it was genuine. And so that's one of the things. I'm blanking on the chef's name. It's Chef Benedict. I was forgetting his company name. He had the booth right behind us. Great conversations all day. He's worked in all kinds of different fields and stuff, but you could tell he's passionate about food and about cooking and the stuff. And we got some of his pesto we made last night in a pasta, which beautiful.
So good.
And then we had we got some
fresh mozzarella that he had just made like the night before the show and had fresh there for everybody. Oh,
we had
so
a
good.
grilled cheese today with some mozzarella and some cheddar. It was so good. But like that kind of like interaction that happens at these things, I want to share with the world. Like because no one gets to experience it. Like anybody going through the shows and everything, you're not seeing what's happening for the artist behind the table, the booth, that's sitting in the chair, whatever's behind it. You're not seeing like what that does for their motivation, their creativity, their inspiration to continue going on. Like we've met people there and like, oh man, I only made like $20, but like, I'm like, yeah, but that's $20 that someone invested in you.
Yes.
Do it again.
Oh yeah.
Go farther. Do it, and maybe the next time it's $30. Maybe the next time it's $40. But like you have to keep pushing on that.
Do more of that.
Yeah.
That is what grabbed people's attention.
Yeah.
And do more of it. So one person trusted in you with this.
Yeah.
Do it again, because it's going to turn into a snowball effect of this group of people who all support you, and you're not going to know where it came from. Because you're going to forget, and hopefully you don't, but that one person that gave you the first $20, and then that second person, that third person, and then you're going to have a whole community of people who are supporting you just because you decided to sell that one thing that went to Canada, or you decided to do that one show and you made $20. Yeah.
And one of the first thing that comes back to mind is one of your first shows when you were there with us, a guy who, again, not judging or anything like that, but does not look like he would be into your art. You and him look totally different.
Totally different, yeah.
But he was super stoked to see, like, get your shark art that you had.
Yeah.
And you kind of, you're like, I wasn't expecting that at all. But he bought like 3 of your pieces and everything, and he was like totally. And so that kind of thing, it's like you never know what the person behind that like mask is.
Yeah.
With who, like, what they're into, and so when you get that connection, it's like, oh man, like I didn't realize I can connect with that type of person, or I can connect with this like person who like maybe has a different view than me. But in the end, we're all just enjoying art, and if there's something there that like you see, it's very cool, and it's an experience. Again, I think you nailed it. Like you can express that to people who aren't doing it. Like, we've had office jobs. That's the reality. It's like you're putting this stuff out. You never get to see the end result really of how it goes. There's plenty of people who work in offices that don't get that kind of thing, and it's very fortunate being an artist that you get to experience something that not everyone can, because they're too afraid to. They don't know where to start. They don't know where to like even like how to start kind of thing. But like, what is that like advice or like motivational speak that you have for someone who's in your shoes that you were
like
4 years ago
wanting to start? I mean, it's so simple, but it's the hardest advice because it truly is just do it. You may not have all the information, and you won't. You're going to evolve with the process, and you're going to learn because there's so much stuff that 4 years ago I had no idea, but I started. And now it's to where I am now, of where I felt comfortable enough to leave my full-time job to chase my own dream and vision that I have. And your community that is around you, your friends and whatnot, that is a big influence as well. And luckily I've met you and some other great creators, but it truly comes down to just starting, just doing it. Whether you sell the piece, whether you post it, like it takes a little bit of courage. Post it up online, see what people think about it. Create an Etsy, create a website, and start selling it. You just truly have to start. And it is the scariest thing to do because you're not sure the reaction people are going to give you, which is absurd because most people aren't rude people. You're not going to get a lot of people who are just going to throw hate at you for creating something. If you create something from your heart, people are going to fall in love with it. And it may not be your first piece, it may not be your second piece, it could be your 30th piece, it could be your 100th piece that just blows up. It creates something, it really gets a lot of traction, and you're like, wow, this is what I meant to do, or this is... And again, art isn't for everybody in creating. Not everybody wants to do it.
Yep.
But if you truly you want it to be your life, you just have to start. And you like... That's it. It's the hardest, simplest advice is you just have to start.
Yeah, we give that to people all the time. It's
Yeah.
like, it's super scary. You're very vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's hard to put yourself out there.
To people's opinions.
Yeah.
You are on a stage and everybody's looking at what you have to present, and it's like you cannot let that stop you from doing what you truly want to do, because worrying about other people's opinions, like, that will crush you.
Yeah.
And so you just need to, if you truly love what you're doing, you will not care about what other people think.
Yeah.
Because you can't impress everybody.
No, and not everybody's gonna be your cup of tea or vice versa. But
yeah, there's a lot of shows that I've been to, and I'm like, oh, like that's a cool booth, and I don't buy anything from it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I didn't like the person. I didn't have a weird interaction with them, but it wasn't what I want to spend my money on. But guess what? There's thousands of other people who will. So you can't expect everybody to love your stuff, and you can't expect to love everybody's stuff. Like it's just how it goes.
Yeah, it goes back to me when we were saying, it's like, if I'm going to an art show and I'm not there like selling or trying to like promote who I am, and I'm just going to see what other stuff, because the wall over here behind the cameras is filled with other people's art because it's very cool. But I try to, like, if I can't, I'm not going to buy it, or, oh man, it's a little bit pricier than I really can afford at this time, kind of thing. I try to be like, hey, this stuff's really cool, man.
Yeah.
Like, this is
Grab
super
their
awesome.
card.
Grab their card.
Follow them on Instagram.
Because that goes, like we said earlier, it goes miles for those people. And it's like, I might only have $10 in my pocket, and like that $10, I want to make sure it's like going to like something I really do get inspired by, really do get like driven by. But like for everybody else, if I had $1 million and also a lot of wall space,
buy out the entire show.
I would buy like every single, because I know, being the artist behind the stuff, what it takes to get to that point, and the courage that it takes, and the like vulnerability to be in that position. It is not easy, but like
every single person there is doing it.
Yeah,
every single person there understands it. They understand what it feels like for somebody to walk into their booth, walk out of it with nothing. And so, yeah, truly, you throw a compliment their way, oh my gosh, that's huge, huge. That right there could be the make or break for them to be there. So, yeah, that's awesome.
So, like and subscribe on this video. It goes well on. I'm just kidding.
Follow us on Instagram.
But
It goes a long way.
It does. It really does go a long way to just throw a compliment at an artist. And like I'm super stoked and proud that I have space that I can share this artist with anybody who comes into my a house. And like we have other walls we are painting to put more art up to support more artists that we can, because I think it is really cool. And those artists are never going to walk in my house potentially and see it up on the wall. But if they do, I'd
be there.
Like if I were to walk into someone's house and I saw my piece on the wall, like holy shit, what are you
taking
doing?
Pictures like selfies. I'm like, that's fine.
And like we talked about it again. These like the stories we're going to talk about, or we'll repeat itself. But we did have someone who had one of our T-shirts at a show, and we're like,
that's so cool.
You have a T-shirt with this?
She was like, it's you guys. And we're like, what? Just gotta have your shirt.
Yeah, I was like, that's
so
cool.
Wow.
And then the rest of the night, we're just like, that's so crazy. And then I'm driving home, I'm like, that's so crazy. Someone bought our shirt, and like they're actually wearing it, like out in public. Like, why would you do that? Like, why are you doing it?
You want to be seen in our shirt?
Well, you have the imposter syndrome too. You're like, I shouldn't be, like, why are you wearing my stuff? You know, and like, but it's so crazy for you to run into someone who has your stuff. That's so cool.
It will be like, what, we're going on over a year now that we've been selling shirts, and I've probably say we've probably maybe just about 100 shirts are out in the mall. Maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. Kind of thing. But like it'll be very interesting. Like that day that happens where I'm walking down a street getting lunch and I see someone wearing
or like at the grocery store.
like or a grocery store or something. Like
I would have such a hard time keeping my cool.
I'm
just gonna be like, oh my god,
I made that.
the shirt you're wearing, I made that.
I know. And hopefully they keep wearing it after.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't freak them out completely.
This person's weird.
But
like, oh shit, what did I do?
Oh, I know. But that's a crazy thing too, and it kind of like brings us back to like the snowball effect of somebody's wearing your stuff. It's a billboard for you, and they walk past 10 people, 100 people, and 10 people are like, it's a cool shirt.
Yeah.
Now all those people have seen your stuff, and then if they see you or they see it again, like it creates, like, I had a couple hats that got sold to New Zealand. And I was like, how cool would it be if I was in New Zealand and I saw somebody wearing that hat?
Yeah.
But how cool is it that that person has that hat in New Zealand and thousands of people can see it? Not just me.
Yeah.
But tons of other people can see it and be like, where'd you get that?
Yeah.
I want that. And that's the other cool thing about selling, and like,
putting yourself out there and being vulnerable like that, those kind of things occur, and it is a snowball. And again, it's not something that happens overnight. It is a long thing that will eventually happen.
Trust and build and build something with them. But
we had an interaction this weekend with someone. They were like, oh, you look very familiar. And she's like, yeah, I bought one of your sweatshirts, and everyone's complimenting on it and everything. I love it. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. But she came back again and was looking at her stuff again, and like was willing to like have a little conversation. And we're like, this is really cool. We've had a couple repeat people come through because we're doing so many local shows now that it's like, oh, hey, how's it going, kind of thing.
Like, oh, it's you.
Like, it's like trying to remember everybody's names, but it's always a tough situation.
Names, but I remember faces.
Yeah,
usually.
I remember faces very well, but like names I always get like wrong. But but it is very cool to see that there's people coming back and you're like, oh, we saw you here and we're really stoked. Or I bought this thing. We gave away a sticker, and the guy's like, it's going on my fridge of stickers and everything. I'm like, it's an honor just to be on the fridge with all your other stickers, because you've taken the time to like. All these stickers mean something to you, and you chose ours to go up with the rest of that. That's really cool.
And that's the other crazy thing about being the consumer is when you see something and you're like, I need that, like a t-shirt. You love that design, and then you're wearing it in public and somebody compliments you. That's a compliment to the artist. And so you're going to go back to the artist and be like, I was wearing this shirt. I had people compliment me. Can I get another one? Can I get something else? And that's another crazy thing is what you buy from an artist, because you had a feeling with it, you're going to create feelings for other people who then see that and have the same thing.
Yeah.
And
it's that connection again.
It's that connection again. Yeah. And just being the consumer, you can kind of get a taste of it because you bought something that you had a feeling, a connection to, and then somebody complimented you wearing it. And you're like, that's honestly kind of how the artist feels, is if you spent your money on something and somebody compliments you, that's the same. It's not quite as much, but it's the same thing as like the artist selling something.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Dang. I think about it that way.
It's like that ripple
we just
effect.
got deep.
Yeah.
It's a real deep ripple effect.
Yeah. It's that snowball. Just like you got to start somewhere. You have to build from the smallest of things. And guys, like there are resources out there. Like you don't have to have thousands of dollars to start something. Like Etsy is almost free to put a listing up. It's like 20 cents to put a listing up. You literally can go to print on demand stuff. You can draw things that you are on paper, like all kind, and put that stuff out there in the world. You don't need high end anything to get started. Put it out there, get started somehow, and like use that first thing to invest back into your art, your happiness, your creativity. Like that grows, and it might not be 2 weeks. It might not be the first day. I think I put shirts up and it took a couple days for something to like actually get grabbed by somebody. I was like, oh, first sale online. That's really cool kind of thing. And then like when we could do shows, it's like you're building stuff up for a show weeks and weeks and weeks before you get to the show. And again, you're vulnerable. You don't know if anyone's going to come in and buy your stuff kind of thing. But like something sells and it's like, man, my first $20 just got made off of this. And I was like, that's so cool.
The risks you take now, you could be in a completely different space 3 months, 6 months, a year. You could, the tiny risk that you take now that just putting the listing up in a year, you could be selling thousands of shirts. You don't know unless you start.
Yeah, unless you try.
Yeah, unless you try. You will not know.
Yeah, and I mean, we have a relationship with shirts because that we love that medium. It is one of those fun mediums that we get to play on, but like there are all kinds of options. And like because of the shirts, other things have come down the line. You do digital prints, you do like you're painting patches, all patches. All these things are possibilities that can grow, and so there is no right or wrong direction to start with. Shirts might be the ticket, prints might be the ticket, like posters might be the thing. Like there's a lot of options, but like don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Like I think that's one of the things.
Evolve with it.
So
because there's an audience out there that's going to resonate with what you have to put out in the world.
There's so many people in the world.
There's
so many, and there are so many people who will support you. I know they will. This is for anybody who's listening. Like there are so many people who will support you. They just don't know you exist yet. So you have to get in front of their face. And
there are. I've been to shows. I've been to comic book shows all the way across this country, kind of thing. And like it was a small, tiny comic book show in South Carolina that we went to. Just happened to be I was there working for a pet thing, and I got some free time to go. And it was the coolest thing to walk in and see artists from an area I've never been before, and would never see them again potentially in person. But like I was like, okay, I have a few dollars. What can I buy? Like, bought a patch. I have, and those some of my favorite patches I have are on my wall are from that event. It's like some of like the pins or the little prints or whatever I get, kind of thing. Like, it means a lot to go into these different environments and see these. And I would have never known. I would have never known, like all the amount of markets and shows that are here that have different people, and like I can't attend every single one. I can't be at every one, like just visiting these artists to see what they're doing. But like you have to realize that like eventually our paths will cross. And like and that you will find that person who goes, oh my God, that's so cool. Like I really want this. Like I'm super stoked to like you made that. Like that's really cool, kind of thing. Like we get it with all the, and like we make diverse stuff. We have a variety of things that we make, and so not everything we have at our thing is for everybody. But like someone will come in and be like, "Oh, that's so cool," or like come in and that's so cool. And the same thing with your art; it has such a variety of like what it hits, and like also we didn't even get into talking about like some of the art you did for the local bike shop here. Like that's a completely similar style but different demographic of what you're also doing. That you won what's a 9 line?
The whole sports. It's not just a bike shop. I forgot about that.
It hit me right now because I'm like, you like talking about diversity. There's a bunch of different stuff. And like just try, and
that's another thing is enter into art shows. You don't win, try it again. Try it again. And I did the level 9, and they had an art contest for.
Did I send you the link for that one?
It could have been you. It could be you or Caleb, because he's so involved with the bike community. But like take that risk and put yourself out there, and don't be afraid of no. Don't be afraid of rejection, because it's going to happen. But also you may get a win that completely changes your attitude about it as well. Like, like that's a great example too. Because I wasn't sure how I was going to do. I'm going up against tons of different artists all over Salt Lake and Utah, and I think some of them were from different states as well. And the first one to get announced was mine, that it won. And I was like, what? Out of all those people? That is so cool. But it's because I bet on myself. I took that risk. I took that, 8 hours of a couple days, put my time into it, and I got money from it, I got a reward from it. And then now it's on stickers that are in all these shops too. So yeah,
it's very cool. So one last time before we kind of wrap up on here, where can people go and find and support what you're doing?
Kamberland Creations on Instagram. That'll take you to my Instagram. And then Kamberland.
Kamberland with a K.
Yes, it's Kamberland with a K. If you just search Kamber with a K, it's going to come up because there's not a lot of me out there. Not a lot of me with that name. And then on Etsy as well, Kamberland Creations with a K. Not Creations, but just Kamberland. I'll take you there. So.
And we'll put the links below for the YouTube channel, of course.
Awesome. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and so guys, we're filming this before, and this will air before DIY Fest here in Salt Lake City. So if you guys are watching this, you guys are local, go support artists, not just us or Cam here. Like, there are going to be amazing amount of artists. The first time we did the show, we walked out of there broke because we bought so many cool things from all the artists there. But go support local artists. Go support the show, DIY Fest by Craft Lake City. Look it up. But ourselves, Steadfast Rebels and Kamberland, will be there. And if you want to see what we're doing and what Cam is doing, check it out. This will be airing before that big festival. That's August 11th, 12th, and 13th. If you guys catch this show afterwards, check us out online. But thank you guys for joining us on this episode of Always Making. We'll see you guys on the next episode with another great artist and creator, maker, and we're going to have the same fun conversation we had today. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.